Amen. Well, as you know, we are this week in lesson 2 of our baggage series and talking about things that we need to let go of. And today we're going to deal with a very specific brand of baggage, particularly the baggage of addiction. And how do we overcome addictions in our life? Let's just dispense with one thing, first of all, right off the top. None of us in this room want to admit that we have addictions in our life. Some of you, I was afraid to even tell you last week what we were going to talk about today, out of fear that you might say, well, I don't need to go today because I don't have any of that. So let that go on somebody else and pull out the gospel pitchfork and shove that over on somebody else, when we really need to pull out the gospel rake and just rake it on into us, because we all have things that we're struggling with. The truth is, addictions affect many more people than what we'll ever realize. Do you realize, let me give you some statistics, that every second, 28,252 people are viewing pornography on the internet every second of every day. Every second, $89,000 is spent viewing pornography on the internet. Every second. 50% of men in our society today are addicted to pornography. 1 out of every 2 men. Now, it doesn't just affect men. This is a recent statistic that I heard just last week. 1 out of every 3 online pornography users are women. Now, that may not sit well with some of you. You may not want to admit that you would ever even have a lustful thought, but the statistics say 1 out of every 3 online pornography users are women. The average family in our society today has $8,000 in credit card debt because we're addicted to spending. 1 out of every 8 adults struggles with alcohol addiction. Kids average 4 hours of television every single day. We're training our kids to be addicted. 63% of Americans, including me, are overweight. We're either addicted to eating or not exercising. You take your pick. 49% of marriages end in divorce because one of the other has addictions in their life. Now, we are all in one way or another affected by addictions and addictive lifestyle choices. The problem is that most of us think addictions are limited to stuff like alcohol, drugs, pornography, cigarettes, gambling. You know the list. The big stuff that everybody can see and point to and say, ooh, you got that problem. Oh, look at you, you have this. But the truth is, there are so many addictive lifestyle choices that lead us to pick up baggage and begin to drag things around that God never intended for us to do. So as I began to think about and study about addictions this week, I came to the conclusion that no one ever says to themselves, life is just going too great today. I think I'm going to screw my life up royally. I'm going to make some decisions that, if I do, could start the ball rolling into a very painful and negative direction in my life. Did anybody wake up this morning and make that declaration? No. Nobody intentionally makes that decision. However, unintentionally, people do it all the time. For example, this morning, I don't think anybody ever says, man, you know, my teeth are too white and I smell just way too good, so I think I'm going to start smoking cigarettes today. And if I'm lucky, I'll get lung cancer and I'll die only 10 or 12 years earlier than I was supposed to. I hope that happens to me. Anybody make that decision? Nobody decides they want to get really fat by overeating, or a bigger problem in our society, I really can't control my eating, but I want to look good, so I'm going to pig out and eat as much as I want, and then I'm going to go to the bathroom and stick my finger down my throat and puke it all back up. I really want to do that. We don't think that way. Nobody ever says that's what they want to do, but people arrive at that end result. Here's another one. I don't think anybody says, today I'm going to play my first hand of Texas Hold'em, and before long I'm going to get so hooked that I'm going to gamble all the time at casinos, online gambling, throwing dice in the parking lot, going to be at the track, playing lottery, and eventually I'm going to get so hooked, I'm going to use all my retirement, all my savings, have my car repossessed, and if I'm lucky each week, I'll hand over my paycheck to hopefully some guy named Guido who will not break my legs. Nobody plans to do it, and yet it happens. How about this one? Today, life is going so great. I think I'm going to celebrate by having my first beer. If I'm really feeling lucky, I'll get addicted, and one day, because of my addiction to alcohol, I'll lose my job, I'll lose my family, and I'll probably eventually die a horrible death because my liver is no longer able to function at the capacity that God designed it for. Yay, beer. I don't think we make that decision. Nobody ever goes to the computer and says, I wonder what kind of filth I can find today. Maybe if I type in a few naughty words, I'm only one click away from opening a window on my screen that is filled with destruction. Yeah, I'm going to destroy my wife, my family by checking out what I can find on the internet. I'm really looking forward to living with guilt and worrying that my wife will check my online history in my system and see all the sites that I've been visiting or the people I've been talking to. Yay, computer. We don't do that. But the truth is that's the decision that many of us make. In your handout, addiction begins when we choose to experience pleasure without pain, and instead of turning to someone, namely Jesus Christ, we turn to something, whatever it is that we've become addicted to. I like that definition. I want to read it to you again. Addictions begin when we choose to experience pleasure without pain. And instead of turning to someone, namely Jesus Christ, for help, we turn to something, the thing that we become addicted to. The first question that we have to ask ourselves this morning is not what am I addicted to? The question really is what or who is my master? What has mastered you? What am I allowing to supersede my relationship with Jesus Christ? What is it that at this moment that is out of control in your life and is bigger than you? What is the baggage in your life that you can't seem to leave behind? 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 19 reads, "They promise them freedom, while they themselves are slaves of depravity. For a man is a slave to whatever has mastered him." The Apostle Peter is writing to a church, and he's saying, you got people in your church who are preaching the gospel. They're promising freedom to the congregation. They're telling them, you can be free, you can be free. And yet in the midst of that, they are slaves to depravity themselves because they've allowed something to master them other than Jesus Christ. So many times, we go out on our jobs, we tell people about our experience with Jesus Christ, and if we'll be honest, we talk about how Jesus can set them free, and yet we go home in chains ourselves, and that is not the will of God. It is the will of God that you walk free from every addiction, from every binding force. It is the will of God that you walk free from the baggage that is saddling you right now. Today, ask yourself, what am I slave to? What is it that controls me? What is it that is bigger than I am? And today, if you're honest enough to say, yes, there is something, I have incredible news and hope for you. If you will apply the principles of the Word of God and submit yourself to the power of His Spirit in your life, Jesus Christ will set you free. And so today, I'm inviting you to be really, really honest. What is it that has mastered you? I've mentioned items, but yours may not be something that on the surface is dangerous or harmful. It may be something like caffeine. For example, some of you have to have 6 cups of coffee every morning to get to work or to church. And with the Connection Cafe out in the lobby, some of you have had 2 more, and you can't make it through service without going to the bathroom 5 times, and you're just dying for service to end so you can get another. And you can talk really fast like this. And that's what I did last week. No, I'm just kidding. Or maybe you're addicted to dipping, which I know is very attractive, ladies. Grabbing a piece of that black stuff and packing it in between your cheek and gum. Copenhagen. Then you sit around and spit that nasty brown juice into a cup or a Coke bottle. It's a real turn on, ladies. They're going to love you. Maybe it's smoking. Cigarettes, marijuana. Some people get addicted, they'll smoke anything. I heard that the guys out on the Target parking lot the other day were smoking a water pipe. Yeah. Now, I don't know if cigarettes will send you to hell, but they sure will make you smell like you've been there. That's just for free. I didn't actually say that, Jerry Falwell did. Maybe you're addicted to the internet. I don't mean internet pornography. I mean the internet, period. Some of you can't go a few minutes without checking your email or your Facebook account. You got to know what's going on all the time. A lot of folks have phones right now, and you're dying for me to look away from you so you can look down and see if you got an email. I think there's some people that sit in church and text one another. Do you agree with what he's talking about? I don't. I think he's a nut. It drives us. It pushes us. We always got to have it. And if we don't have it, we feel like we're missing something. But Jesus did not intend for you to continue to drag your bag around. He desires for you to be free. If we're going to live free, if we're going to send our bad habits packing, we must apply 3 basic biblical principles into our life. They are in your handout. Let me read. Let's go ahead with step number 1. The first major step to begin experiencing freedom, to sending your baggage packing, is take it to God or Jesus Christ. That's right. Take it to Jesus. John chapter 8, verse 31. Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, "If you abide in my word, you're my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, we're Abraham's descendants and have neither been in bondage to anyone. How can you say you will be made free? Jesus answered them, most assuredly I say to you, whoever